Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Discussion video. So as you can tell by the title, this is going to be kind of a much more serious discussion video that I want to have with you guys about the current state of VRAINS, about the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! Honestly as a whole, and it's going to be more of a, maybe not so, again, happy and fun video, and positive video as I like to make it, and there's going to be two parts of it, and the first part is probably going to be titled something like, Is Yu-Gi-Oh! In Crisis? And then the second part is going to be the fact that the director did apologize again. So big thank you to Maiden Days on Twitter. She is a very knowledgeable person, and I will be probably referencing a few of her tweets. She obviously is making inferences about what's going on like we all are, but I'm pretty much agreeing with everything that she's saying, and she is someone who's been in the community for a long time and knows a lot more probably than I do about like the production that goes on behind the scenes for the shows. So she pointed it out to me right when I posted my review yesterday that the director apologized again. Now the director, if you don't remember, apologized right after 21. I was actually incorrect, by the way, or the translation that I got when he said we will not have a recap episode for quite a while. That is not the case. DMC, who is the #1 translator by far, and a big thank you to him for all of this, because with the language barrier, it's very easy for things to get lost in translation. DMC, when he translated it, he said, to be fair, he didn't actually say for a while in his original tweet. He just said the story will continue starting from next week, and that's why the language barrier is so confusing, as so many people were criticizing him for saying for a while, when, according to DMC, who again is our god translator, he really is, the director did not say for a while, and I reported, and when I made my video, I went over the translation where the person said that he did say for a while, so I do apologize for that. I was incorrect there, and it's just very easy for things to get lost in translation. The language barrier obviously sucks. So the director tweeted this, again, VRAINS airs Wednesday night, so he tweeted this Thursday morning in Japan, and here's DMC's translation of the tweet. I'm very sorry that there is no new content this week. It is a shame that the recaps happen so frequently and in such short intervals. We have no excuse. I hope that everyone will continue watching despite all this. And again, I really just, and I did see a lot of people, and I myself included, was kind of like, I thought it was a little weird that the director apologized for it and then we had one so quickly. I didn't really necessarily think it was the director's fault, and I still really do not believe that it's the director's fault. Now, some people will say, his apology means nothing, and that's fine. We all have reason for it, but I think this is a really broader issue, and this is not, to me, a Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS issue. This is not a Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 issue, because what I'm going to be talking about now in the next part is honestly something that affected Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 as well that I think we all forget. It's not a Dark Side of Dimensions issue either, and I'm going to read you the tweets and the speculation that Maiden Days gave to one of the followers that tweeted at Zark Kirishima. I basically tweeted that I feel bad for the guy, it's clearly not his fault. Maiden Days replied, me too, he inherited this mess, all the new staff did, it's got to be killing them trying to keep up with the weekly episodes, they should go on hiatus, they should be months ahead, not weeks, I hope it's not days, and what she's referring to there are the episodes, and she goes on to say, and again, remember, all speculation, but I pretty much agree with everything she's saying. No, but it's been obvious for at least a year that the production schedule at Gallop is behind. Studio Gallop is the studio that obviously puts out the episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, the only show that they are producing, the only show that they have produced since 2012 is a Yu-Gi-Oh! Show, The End of Zexal, Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 in its entirety, and now Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS. No one on the VR staff is to blame for it, so we shouldn't be angry at them. I've long suspected that this had to do with the studio making Dark Side of Dimensions. Studio Gallop also did produce Dark Side of Dimensions. While it was working on Arc 5, they did bring in outside help for the movie, but it just wasn't enough. The studio was stretched too thin, and they have not recovered. Anime episodes are supposed to be made and finished months in advance of their broadcast date, like 3 to 4 months ahead. This has not been happening at Gallop for a while now. The hard truth is they don't have enough content. They're going to have to keep making recaps or go on hiatus. And she's absolutely right. Maiden Days is absolutely right, and I agree with everything she's saying here. Again, all speculation, but I have honestly believed that the Dark Side of Dimensions really sucked them dry. I don't have any issue with them making the movie or, producing it, because I love Dark Side of Dimensions. It's easily my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Movie by far. But they did not, we saw Ebina already leave, and Ebina was one of the best animators they had. Ebina's left. How many other people have left, we don't know. And not only this, but anime in general is in trouble. It's not just Yu-Gi-Oh! Really. It's the entire anime industry where if you literally type in "is anime," the first suggestion on Google, dying. Is anime dying? And anime right now is struggling. It's struggling because of how many people, first of all, watch it illegally. I mean, so many people use GoGo Anime and Kiss Anime, so they're not making any revenue from there. It struggles because so many people get overworked and they're forced to make episodes. And when it comes to shows like Yu-Gi-Oh! And shows that are going to run non-stop, Yu-Gi-Oh! Also doesn't have a manga, so they don't have any source material to follow. So they're literally making things up on the spot. Along with that, think about this. Never in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Transition did we get a 1.5 month break. It was at least a month break between Arc 5 and VRAINS, and that was clearly because there were production issues, and there still are major production issues here. So I think it is fair to say that Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now, Studio Gallop, they are in crisis. This is a really, really bad situation. A lot of people have said, this has never happened in a Yu-Gi-Oh! Before. Why is this happening? It's not the fault of Yugioh VRAINS. It's not like, Yugioh VRAINS is doing this on purpose, and I think to take it out on the Yugioh VRAINS as a show is kind of a little silly. It's just the situation that Studio Gallop is in and the situation that the new staff is in, because they're probably working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, hopefully not, but it could be the case, to make episodes that they're literally finishing Tuesday night when they have to air Wednesday night. And if someone gets sick or they just can't think of anything, that's why these recap episodes happen. One of the biggest examples of this, we can actually go back to Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5, and I'll never forget this, and I thought this was one of the craziest things. I couldn't find the tweet, but I remember there was a tweet from one of the Arc 5 animators who, this was during the Yuya vs. Yuri duel, right before Zark showed up, and he said, yeah, we really don't know what's going on. We haven't been told by the higher-ups anything about Zark or how to draw him, and that's why we kind of got that weird Zark, the white one before he fused with his dragon in 135 or 136. I think it was 136. And the whole end of Arc 5 was just very like, what the heck is going on? And it was clearly, sure, there are other issues with Arc 5, like the fact that they were in synchro for 55 episodes and Heartland for 7, and the pacing was suspect at times. But remember, that was right when they were filming Dark Side of Dimensions. And the fact that during the Yuya vs. Yuri duel, which only lasted 2 episodes, mind you, so they had 2 episodes, 2 weeks, and they didn't know what to do for Zark, which right there shows you that literally they were only 2 weeks ahead of production, if that. And that was one of the craziest things to me, when they literally should be like 10 to 12 episodes ahead of production. That's just not the case right now. It was not the case towards the end of Arc 5, and we saw the end of Arc 5 be criticized heavily by a lot of people, kind of myself too. I mean, I'm not going to defend the ending of Arc 5. But again, not a VRAINS issue, not an Arc 5 issue. I just think that Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now is in a very tough spot. And not only that, but when you think about one of the main purposes of the show, some people will argue it's the only purpose. I don't like to say that. I think it's one of the main purposes, is to show off the cards, is to sell the card game. And it is absolutely a very important purpose. And right now, the card game, from what I have heard and from what I've seen, I'll try to find some stat to put up, is not doing well. The card game, the sales have dropped magnificently from 2016 to 2017 when Link format came out. And so even from the card game point of view, not a good sign. Really, really not a good sign. And so what does this mean for the future of VRAINS? Another thing I want to address too is I've seen a few people say they're going to drop Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS because of the recap episodes. Let's be honest, no one is dropping a show because of recap episodes. If you're dropping a show, it's for other reasons. It's because you don't connect with the characters. It's because you do not like the stories, and you're just using the recap episodes as scapegoats to drop the show. When, honestly, if you don't like the show, if you don't like the characters or the plot, or you think it's boring, or you just hate Links, which is a majority of people that don't like VRAINS, just don't watch the show. There's nothing wrong with dropping it, but you're not dropping it because of the recaps. You're dropping it because you don't enjoy the show, and it's as simple as that. So that's another thing. If you're really invested in the plot and the characters and the story, you're not going to drop it because of a recap episode. Now, can they take a hiatus? Maybe they need to. Maybe they need to take 1 or 2 months off. Would the TV slot, would TV Tokyo let them do that? Probably not, and that's the reason why they're not able to just take a week off. Now, luckily, usually in December, Yu-Gi-Ohs get a week off, if I remember. They usually get one in December, so hopefully that's coming up and they can, catch up on what they need to catch up on. But the situation is just bad, guys, and honestly, right now, unless they hire a crazy amount of people or Konami gives them more money and more funds for this, or Gallup or whoever the higher up there is, they're in trouble. They really are in trouble, and these recap episodes might not stop anytime soon, and this is something that has plagued Yu-Gi-Oh! Since the end of Arc 5, and while I think VRAINS has been, especially when you take out the recap episodes, really, really good. I mean, I have really, really enjoyed it. It is right up there right now with the 5Ds and Duel Monsters for me. The recap episodes are definitely hindering it. You just hope that they'll figure it out, but this is something that probably is going to have to plague them. And based on the director's apology, just saying that we have no excuse for it, he's between a rock and a hard place. He's not going to obviously say, like, you know, the studio is stretching us thin, we can't keep up with the pace. And at the same time, he doesn't want to lie about it and say, you know, we're going to continue for quite some time, like I thought he did in 21 when he didn't. So he feels bad about it, and it's just right now, the Yu-Gi-Oh! Is in probably the darkest place since I've watched it that it has been in the anime wise, and maybe the card game wise too, for a long, long time. And how do they fix it? They need probably more funds. They need probably more time. Maybe a couple of breaks here and there would do the trick. The problem is getting those breaks and just giving up a primetime Wednesday night slot on TV Tokyo. There's probably a contract where they need to fill that void. And it's not easy to just get out of contracts and move to different TV networks, especially when they've been with TV Tokyo, I think, since the Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monster days. So it's a very tough situation, guys, and it's sad. It makes me a little sad when you think about it. But again, there's just a lot of anger right now and a lot of confusion more than anything else of why this is happening. And hopefully this kind of gives you more of an idea. And whether you say it's not an excuse, I mean, I think that's kind of cold to say, but some people will feel that way. And honestly, maybe it's best right now, if you are very annoyed, to just drop the show for a bit and hope that maybe in 4 or 5 months they get things together. And, you know, I'm rooting for them. I tweeted to the director. I used Google Translate to tweet something like, "Thank you for the apology. I still support VRAINS," or something like that. And then I copied and pasted it in Japanese and tweeted to him. So if you go to my Twitter, there will be a tweet in Japanese just trying to show my support. And you know, it's sad, and I feel bad for the guy, and I just feel bad for Yu-Gi-Oh! VRAINS right now, because clearly it's just not something that they want to happen. Of course, it is happening, and we have to look at it like it's part of VRAINS, because right now it is part of VRAINS, and just hopefully Studio Gallop will figure this out, and the team will figure it out, and they will push through it. But again, back to what I just said earlier, probably one of the darker times for Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now in a while, and I definitely would say they probably are, if not in full crisis mode, in mini crisis mode. They need to get things together. And again, you can't really blame it on anyone, and you can't just blame it on VRAINS, because Arc 5 suffered from it too. And hopefully they will figure things out. But anyway, guys, if you guys have any ideas on what they could do, maybe to increase the card game sales too. A lot of people aren't really liking Lynx because it killed so many decks. I wish there was tournaments still that played in the old style, because I just feel like when you change the whole board around, there's a lot of people who spent so much money making decks and so much money buying cards, that now they feel all their investment was they basically just flushed it down the drain. So if they still had old style tournaments, old format tournaments, where you could use the older decks, and the Link decks were just kind of other tournaments and newer tournaments, and it was like an option, maybe that would keep the card sales better, or get the card sales better. I don't really know. I don't know if the card sales being low is any direct correlation to what's going on here, but clearly it's definitely worrying and troublesome, especially for someone who has been a fan for as long as I have, and I know a lot of you live and breathe Yu-Gi-Oh! So just like I do. So hopefully, you know, keep your fingers crossed, and hopefully they do figure this out. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for joining me on this Thursday afternoon, or whenever you may be watching. I hope you have an amazing day. I will talk to you down below.